you come to Napoli, la 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 la, sing this happy song with me, la 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 la. La 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 la.
The voice of God calls us to awaken Him. How will He find us when He comes?
Awake and ready.
And when He asks us to dedicate our lives ever more perfectly to Him, how will He find us when He comes?
Awake and ready.
Let's start with a prayer together. Heavenly Father,
Heavenly Father,
Divine Mother,
Divine Mother,
dearest friend,
dearest friend,
beloved God,
beloved God,
great masters,
great masters,
Jesus Christ,
Jesus Christ,
Babaji Krishna,
Babaji Krishna,
Lahiri Mahashaya,
Lahiri Mahashaya,
Swami Shri Yukteswar,
Swami Shri Yukteswar,
Paramahansa Yogananda,
Paramahansa Yogananda,
saints of all religions,
saints of all religions,
be with us.
be with us.
Bless this service.
Bless this service.
Bless our hearts
Bless our hearts
with your presence.
with your presence.
Change our darkness into thy light.
Change our darkness into thy light.
Make us thy channels,
Make us thy channels,
that we might share thee with all.
that we might share thee with all.
Om. Peace.
Peace.
Amen. Please be seated. We'll start with a piece of music.
My heart of its
continue to meditate as I read from Affirmations for Self-Healing by Swami Kriyananda on our week's topic, work. Work should be done with a creative attitude, never for the sake of selfish gain, but for the chance it gives us to help create a better world. Those who work with the thought of pay live in the future. They lose the habit of living here and now, where alone true happiness can be found. Work should always be done as well as possible, not out of self-conceit, but in gratitude for the free gift of life, of sunshine, of water, of air, and in gratitude simply for our God-given power to be useful to our fellow man. Please affirm with me in a loud voice and then growing gradually softer. I will do my work thinking of Thee, Lord.
I will do my work thinking of Thee, Lord.
I offer to Thee the very best that is in me.
I offer to Thee the very best that is in me.
I will do my work thinking of Thee, Lord.
I will do my work thinking of Thee, Lord.
I offer to Thee the very best that is in me.
I offer to Thee the very best that is in me.
I will do my work thinking of Thee, Lord.
I will do my work thinking of Thee, Lord.
I offer to Thee the very best that is in me.
I offer to Thee the very best that is in me.
In a whisper now. I will do my work thinking of Thee, Lord. I offer to Thee the very best that is in me. And silently to yourself, I will do my work thinking of Thee, Lord. I offer to Thee the very best that is in me. I will do my work thinking of Thee, Lord. I offer to Thee the very best that is in me. And now broadcasting it from the point between the eyebrows. I will do my work thinking of Thee, Lord. I offer to Thee the very best that is in me. And please pray silently with me. Beloved Lord, who so wonderfully created the high snowy mountains, the bounding rivers, the colorful fragrant flowers, the vast heaving oceans, and the distant glittering stars, manifest through me Thy perfect joy. Om. Peace. Amen. Good morning. Good morning. Hello, my name is Suryani, and this is Keshava. Hello to everyone online. It's good to be here. I'm going to read from Rays of the One Light, weekly commentaries on the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita by Swami Kriyananda. Week 6, the importance of soul receptivity. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramhansa Yogananda. Chapter 1 of the Gospel of St. John states, "But as many as received him, to them gave he power to become the sons of God, even to them that believe on his name." This was a passage by Paramhansa Yogananda often quoted to his disciples. Be in tune, he would tell them. Delusion can't touch you if you will keep in tune. A few of you will fall, he said once, but it needn't be if you would stay in tune. Of a disciple who became highly advanced, even though she didn't meditate much, he said, she got there by attunement. To one who found meditation difficult, he said, I will meditate for you, as long as you stay in tune. Truth is a state of consciousness, not a well-worded definition. It is in that consciousness, above all, that our lives are transformed. Therefore, the Bhagavad Gita says in the 10th chapter, "To those who are ever attached to me and who worship me with love, I impart discernment, by means of which they attain me. Out of my love for them, I, the divine within them, set alight in them the radiant lamp of wisdom, thereby dispelling the darkness of their ignorance. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind." Om.
Good morning again. Good morning. I would like to begin with a reading from Whispers from Eternity, and I apologize beforehand if this is a repeat from last week. I wasn't here last week, and I opened the book and was so touched by the first reading that I saw that I decided that's the one. But then I realized that that means there's about a 30% chance that it's the one that was read last week. So. But if that's the case, repetition is the mother of all learning. So this is, "I want to know, wilt thou be mine? I care not if in the destruction of my desires I must shatter my very self, jostling through sextillion of lives and undergoing again and again the throes of birth and the pangs of death. I can endure all suffering so long as at the end of it I attain my supreme goal, oneness with thy bliss. What care I if I leave behind mangled heaps of my fleshy forms, broken by my struggles to reach thee? I offer all my earthly happiness in exchange for thy joy. I renounce all elusive joys for eternal freedom in thy joy. Thy bliss alone is mine, alone is mine. Oh, tell me clearly that thou wilt surely be mine. I can wait patiently then 100,000 years as if they were but a day. Tell me, wilt thou be mine?" Oh, thank you all for being here today. It's such a joy and a privilege to share weekly in spiritual community. I was reflecting recently on how Master Yogananda said that on the spiritual path, if you practice sincerely with devotion, with attunement, with receptivity, he said, you won't even recognize yourself. And I had a brief experience of this just a few days ago when I shaved my beard off. And I was going through the process, and in the final strokes, when the last hair fell, I looked in the mirror and I went, "Oh my God, it's my face!" So, just like that, every time one of the hairs of our bad nature falls off our face, we discover a little bit more who we are. But on a more serious note, our topic today on attunement is such a vital one. It's such an important part of what it is to develop spiritually. And what's so beautiful about each topic in our Sunday services is you could almost say of every one, well, this is the whole path right here. But attunement, the importance of soul attunement, soul receptivity is really one of those topics, that this is really the game. Yogananda's foremost disciple, Rajarsi Janakananda, who Yogananda said was a free, completely liberated soul in that life. Once Yogananda asked him, "Rajarsi, from whence does your power come?" And Rajarsi said, "From you, Lord, from you." And when Swami Kriyananda asked Rajarsi Janakananda, what is the most important quality to develop on the spiritual path? Rajarsi, who is this self-made millionaire, this dynamo of willpower and energy, he said, receptivity. Cultivate receptivity. What a thing to contemplate. But how can we cultivate receptivity? I think here in the West, Americans, we have this wonderful attitude of like do it yourself and like grab life with both your hands and go about applying yourself, which is wonderful. But we also need the receptivity, the openness of heart. I myself am very guilty of this. That I can get almost like caught on a single track direction of using my willpower to attain something. But true receptivity is a constant openness of the heart, asking Divine Mother, asking the Masters, what do you want? What's your will? How can I serve you? Wilt thou be mine? Wilt thou be mine? I had an inspiring experience just last week. Suryani and I had the joy of our first about 6-day-long silent seclusion. And Yogananda said seclusion is the price of greatness. And I was able to experience why he said that. He also said many hands make a miracle. So it's not that you have to go seclude in a Himalayan cave or bust. This is a balanced path. And seclusion doesn't mean necessarily simply removing yourself from other people and holding silence. Seclusion is of the heart. Seclusion is like they say in the Bible, oh, I have made my heart a wilderness that you may come and find me there. Or I'm paraphrasing roughly. But it's very helpful from time to time to remove yourself from the influences of other human energies, of cities, even of your close family friends, because when you're by yourself, you can finally realize who you are, both personally, but on a deeper soul nature. And when we were out in seclusion, in silence, I was so struck to discover how much I loved God and how much I loved to meditate. I couldn't believe when I got away from the restlessness and all the self-imposed importance of my own little life that I realized how much I love God. And I encourage all of us to take some time, even if you only can find half a day or even a few hours. I've done this many times myself, that I have 3 hours. But if you consciously say, Lord, I'm going into seclusion for these 3 hours and it's just you and me, it becomes very special. It's like having a date with Divine Mother or a date with Heavenly Father, that they will come to you when you give them your special attention. And that's what it takes to be receptive. When I was an actor, as if that was a whole other lifetime, I said it, but it feels like it. One of the things that was very interesting when I was studying the craft of acting, the most important element in acting is learning how to receive the person with whom you are playing a scene with. Because really, all drama, all stories are about our interactions. It's about people. And so basically, one of the greatest lessons I learned in that whole craft was simply learning how to drop all your baggage and just be with somebody. Just learn to be with somebody. And what was really beautiful is one of my mentors in that craft called it receiving someone. He said, are you receiving that person? And it was beautiful because it's different from listening. You can listen to someone, you can hear their words, but totally miss what they're saying, totally miss their meaning. But when you really receive someone and you feel their heart, then you're there with them. And that's what creates a sense of closeness, a sense of true, deep friendship. That's what creates intimacy, not necessarily in a sensual way, but in a soul way, that we understand one another. And I had a friend, my good friend Drupada, who's a beautiful soul and a great, wise being. He said to me once that, he said, you, being me, Keshava, will desire a level of intimacy with other people that when your friends in Hong Kong, you can send them love and blessings and they'll send you a text message that says, hey, I got it. And that level of intimacy is what we're trying to build with the Masters, that we can feel that their heart is constantly with us and that we are constantly with them. And the way to cultivate that is just like you would in a human relationship. Give them your conscious, loving, single-pointed, tender attention. I love you. Wilt thou be mine? There's a beautiful story of Krishna, and that one time his gopis were chanting loudly. There are many of them, and they were chanting his name, Krishna, 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 and he was in an adjacent room, and basically was paying them no mind. And they were chanting vigorously and loudly, many, many times, and banging cymbals. And in the back of the room, his foremost disciple, Radha, started just whispering, Krishna, 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 but with such deep love that he came running in an instant. And that's what God is just waiting for, a sincere soul call. And as soon as he hears that sincere soul call, he comes running to the throne of your heart. And it's by this receptivity, it's by inviting God onto the throne of your heart that, as the Bible says, he will give you the power to become the son of God or the daughter of God. That he gives you the power to transform your darkness into light, all your clay into gold. Because that's his nature. I wanted to talk briefly about the transformative power of God's love. I think power, as one of the aspects of God, is very misunderstood. Power is not the ability to destroy. It's the ability to transform, to transmute. That's what God's power is. Swami Kriyananda said that divine love is what expresses power. It's when you feel God's love in your heart that you are transformed in a single instant. I've had some of my most dear memories of my spiritual experiences have to do with feeling the descent of this divine power. And Swami Kriyananda wrote once in one of his essays on the different aspects of God that he said the power aspect of God terrifies people sometimes. Because when you feel it descend, it feels as if you're like a leaf shaking in the midst of a mighty thunderstorm. And at any moment, the power of the universe could end you, and it wouldn't even matter because you're so minuscule. And it's true, there is a terrifying quality to the power of God, but it's always to transmute us into that power itself. If we're that little leaf being tossed in a storm of God's creation, being destroyed doesn't mean being eliminated. It means becoming that storm itself, becoming all of creation. And so, to that end, when in your life you feel that you are being tossed around in life's storms, that Divine Mother is throwing you a little more stick than carrot, remember that that is just an aspect of God's transformative power. God isn't trying to make us enjoy this mud puddle of a creation. He's trying to help us get out of it. And the more we can learn to feel God's transformative power, even in our obstacles, the more we will draw that power through the obstacles to rise and become great in ourselves and learn how to be unshaken amidst the crash of breaking worlds. I had an interesting experience that I'd like to share just recently when I had a personal confrontation occur, and I felt deeply hurt by this confrontation, and I felt utterly destroyed in my heart from this confrontation. I couldn't even really rationalize why it had hurt me so dearly, and I could not understand what my lesson was. I couldn't wrap my head around it. The exchange that happened, it felt so unfair, it had felt so unwarranted. But I knew on some deeper level that it was mine. Because Yogananda says everything that comes to you is for your own good. Everything that comes to you is yours. Like what Christ said when, if you're struck on the cheek, smile and turn the other cheek. That Swami Kriyananda elaborated on that, saying that it's affirming that it's your magnetism that's drawing everything to you. And so if you receive a blow, smile and turn the other cheek and say, very well, I've drawn this to myself, so if there's more coming, let me have it. And so I was reflecting on this experience that I had, and I realized that there must have been some personal karma that drew this to me. There's no other way. Otherwise it wouldn't have come to me, and perhaps more importantly, it wouldn't have affected me so strongly. It just would have rolled off my back. And I was sitting in meditation, and I started praying vigorously to Yogananda. I said, I don't understand what this experience was for. I don't understand what you're trying to teach me, but I know you're trying to teach me something. Show me. Show me what you're trying to teach me. You have to show me. I have to understand. And I knew that Yogananda could tell me. I knew he had the answer. And I declared my faith strongly and with will, and after about 15 minutes I had a realization that it was a karma coming back to me to teach me a lesson that I desperately needed to learn and that I hadn't yet fully comprehended. And it was that I think in the past, just as the example, I think in the past I have used my own willpower and hurt other people very dearly, to where they felt that it was completely unwarranted and where they felt completely unfairly hurt and misunderstood by me. And I needed to experience that to understand how completely of a misuse that was of my will. But the point of this story, though, was in that moment I felt God was able to transcend that karma through me. And I understood, and I suddenly felt lightness, and I suddenly felt joy, and I suddenly felt closer to Master, and I suddenly realized that I could now begin in a deeper way to express my Dharma because I had learned this lesson. And I was actually grateful. I said, Divine Mother, thank you so much for putting this in my path, because I don't think I would have understood unless you had delivered this message to me through this painful experience. And so the more we can learn to see God in everything, the more God will be able to come to us through everything. And of course, it's the easiest to practice on the beautiful things, like when we're in seclusion and we're on a bluff and I can see the sunset playing over 1,000 waves and turning the sea gold. Divine Mother, you are magnificent. But so too, when you're misunderstood, when your best friend, it hurts you. Divine Mother, you are magnificent. Try to learn to see through her play and find God in everything. And in this way, we will develop true receptivity, true power. The story I'd like to close with is that there was a guru in India who once started throwing bricks at all of his disciples, and I'm sure we've all heard this story before. But imagine this, that you're sitting with your guru, the being who radiates endless love and compassion and wisdom in your life, and you're sitting in an intimate satsang, you and your close your disciple Guru Bhais, and suddenly it's brick lobbing time. And you're getting struck left and right, by these terrible blows. What would most people do? Most of the disciples got up and ran. But one wise disciple bowed before his guru, and the brick that struck him, he took that brick and he took it home, because he said, whatever my guru gives me is a blessing. And he put that brick on his altar. And lo, that evening when he meditated, when he opened his eyes, the brick had turned to gold. And so it is in our lives, that everything that comes to us is from God. There's no other source. And it's if we can see it as coming from God, that every clay will turn to gold, every darkness will turn to light, every evil will turn to good. And in this way, we will be transformed, and we will be given the power to help transform others by the simple magnetic power of our love for God. Thank you so much for being with us
Away.